Alright, so when we're looking at the domain of a graph, the main thing you're going to do is read your graph left to right and then from the bottom of your graph to the top of the graph. So if we draw some arrows out to help us out, for our domain, we read left to right. Oh, this is a messy arrow. Okay. For range, we read from the bottom of our graph up to the top of our graph. So if we want to think about starting to type out what our domain is, the first domain value, as I read my graph from left to right, corresponds with this first point here. My x value of my first point is -4, so -4 is the first number I put. As I keep going to the right, my next point is this one, whose x value is -2, so that's what we put next. Oh, not negative, -2. Keep going to the right. I have these 2 points next, which are right on top of each other. They both have the same x value of 1. Even though there are 2 points here with 2 x values of 1, we still just write it as 1, 1. We don't need to write 2 1s. And our last point for our domain is this one right here, whose x value is 3. That's my domain. For range, in red, we're going to read the graph from the bottom up to the top. So we're going along the bottom, looking for our first point. It's here. This is my first point. The y value of this first point is -3. So that is the first value I put in my range list. As I keep going up, this is the next point I come across, whose y value is -2. That's the next value I put. Keep going. These 2 points have the same y value of 3. We just write 3 once. Next point has a y value of 5. So that will close off our range list. Let's scroll over here, because this one looks different. The points for this graph over here weren't connected. These points are. So we have to still read our graph from left to right and up to down, but the way we write the domain is going to be a little different. So let's just write out kind of that template. Domain. So the one way I think it can be helpful, if this will let me scroll. Okay. The one thing I think could be helpful is to just look along this line. What's your smallest x value that you can possibly have for this line? Smallest x value here is -4. So -4 is my first domain. And actually, we're not going to use curly brackets, we're going to use square brackets. Because this is no longer a list. When you have your points connected like this, we're saying this isn't a list. This is it's a big range of values. These points are all connected. So we use a square bracket to show us that I'm including -4. We write a comma, and then we write the last value in our domain. Since I have this arrow on the end here, that shows me that this graph keeps going forever and ever. So to show that it keeps going forever and ever, we write infinity, or you could draw the infinity symbol, if that helps you. For our range, we're going to read the graph from the bottom to the top again, and we're going to use our square bracket again, because again, my points are all connected, so it's going to be a range of values. So the smallest y value I have is this point here. This y value here is 0. So 0 is my smallest y value. If I keep going up though, my graph ends in an arrow, which means I keep going up and up and up higher to infinity. So this means that my range numbers go all the way up to infinity. They just keep going forever and ever. So that is my domain and range for this graph. It was kind of a crash course. Watch the other videos that are on Power if you need it. Hopefully this helps.